So there's a sort of an element of mystery here for me too, which actually is important, just to make the link with play. You know, playfulness by its nature is full of mystery. And of course, the Bodhisattva plays. You know, there's a sense of play as being something that unfolds. There's a sense of not quite knowing what's going to happen, which keeps one's experience alive. So, so yes, I've sort of boldly stepped into leading tonight, really. And I guess it's a sort of a curiosity that I have that's brought me here to want to lead tonight about, you know, the winter solstice and what it means for us and as Buddhists, but particularly this time of year. I find it's a sort of challenging time of the year. You know, I'm no longer a practicing Christian. I no longer believe, if you like, in the birth of Christ, and I find a little bit awkward. I don't quite know what to do with myself. There's certainly a wish for me to want to be part of the season's festivities, but in a sense, I need to find my own kind of way with it as a practicing Buddhist. And in a sense, that's curiosity has led me to want to explore the winter solstice, really, which is what I'm just going to briefly sort of set the scene for tonight, so we can maybe engage more with the puja, perhaps bring in our imagination to the puja, which is something that I quite like to do and encourage. So I'm going to be, excuse me, I'm going to be talking about, mostly my sources for this introductory setting of the scene is going to be coming from Sangharakshita's book called The Essential Sangharakshita, excuse me, which is really a collection of his main teachings drawn from all his different books and talks and sources. And it's really, for me, a rather excellent source. And the section I'm really sort of developing tonight, if you want to read more about it, is Buddhism and the Natural World, which is on page 473 onwards. So, so I'm mostly going to be talking about Sangharakshita's thinking and response, if you like, to this very important part of Buddhism, which is connecting with the natural world. So Sangharakshita talks about the importance of having a feeling for nature. And this is something I've been reflecting a lot over this, particularly this last 9 months, particularly in relationship to, you know, the crisis that we're in worldwide with the pandemic. And James Hillman, who's a sort of depth psychologist, a champion of depth psychology, talks about how, as a race, if you like, as human beings, we've lost touch with our nature, and that we've kind of given in to this belief that we're in control. So I'm very much sort of reflecting on this and how, if you like, the pandemic has certainly made me realize how deluded I have been, you know, believing, if you like, you know, we are in control, that I am in control of my life. And in a sense, that's a sort of kind of evidence, if you like, that I have lost touch, if you like, with my nature. Okay. So Sangharakshita talks about, you know, the importance of having a connection and a feeling for nature, a feeling that everything around us is alive. Everything around us is alive. It's not dead, yeah? And everything around us is changing. It's in a dynamic, and it's that dynamic, if you like, that makes everything alive, yeah? Nothing around us is stuck or unmoving. And in a sense, that's what gives everything its aliveness. The trees, the rivers, the rocks, the clouds moving through the sky, they're all alive. And he talks about the importance of having a rapport with the forces of nature. And I have to say, I really sort of, something starts opening up in me when I start reflecting on this. This really helped me to bring something about the life that we're all living in relationship to nature, bringing something of that to life. I think it also taps into my love for Lord of the Rings and all those sort of wonderful stories of talking trees and really, it just sort of something starts to come to life within me. So we're not surrounded by dead matter. This is sort of Sangha thinking. He talks about it's better to think as everything being alive. The trees, the stones, the streams, the clouds. And Sangha also goes as far as to say that actually enlightenment is impossible if you don't have a sense of everything around us being alive. And I was very struck by that, and also struck, if you like, by my own sense of not really entering more fully into that kind of way of thinking that everything around me is alive. So I'm talking about here, a wish, if you like, to want to be more in relationship with, if you like, the dynamics of nature. And of course, the winter solstice is a wonderful opportunity for us to sort of recognize the season, the change in the season. We're right on the cusp. We're right on the threshold at the moment. The dark days, if you like, have ceased in their length. And now we're at the threshold of welcoming back the light. So we're very much on the cusp, if you like, of this change towards a kind of the spring, but the winter, the dark, is still with us. Yeah. And I think that just thinking about the darkness for me also brings my imagination to life in every possible way. I'm very struck if I'm walking out in nature in the dark. Suddenly trees don't always look like trees. Suddenly they might look like something creepy or even monstrous, but they can also look magical too. And in a sense, the darkness, certainly for me, can also bring my imagination to life. So we are not separate from nature. And Sangha talks about, the trees, the clouds, the rivers, everything. In a sense, they're also part of us. We are not separate from them. In a sense, he talks about them also being us, being an aspect of our experience. And when I read this afternoon, something really opened up for me. I really liked that sense of moving more towards nature instead of feeling like I'm separated from it. And of course, clearly, as I said earlier, the thing when we're in touch with nature, we're in touch with change. The seasons are constantly changing. The leaf is always changing. Nothing is static. So when we're engaged with nature, what we're really engaged with is the nature of things, that everything is changing, everything is impermanent. And actually, as I said earlier, I realized that actually I living and still living this life where I believe I'm still in control. And in a sense, I can't help feeling that's because I've become disconnected from nature. In a sense, nature's a wonderful teacher. And the more involved I am with nature, if you like, the closer I am to the nature of things, if you like, to reality itself. So we too are subject to the forces of nature. Again, we're not separate from nature. You know, we as human beings have seasons too. And again, we're celebrating and marking the change in the season tonight, the winter solstice. I was also interested to see that Edmund in King Lear talks about, I've got a quote here, "Thou, nature, art my goddess to thy law. Thou, nature, art my goddess to thy law." I really liked that. There's a sense that nature itself is, if you like, a law. You know, we're all governed, if you like, by laws of nature, whether we like that or not, or whether we even believe that or not. That is the nature of things. We are all governed, if you like, by the law of nature. So Sangha also talks about, you know, nature spirits and gods. And again, this is where my imagination really starts to come to life, seeing nature as spirits and gods. And later tonight, Padma Saki is going to be doing a reading from the Ratana Sutta, which sort of goes into a little bit more of this. And again, in a sense, when we talk about the spirits and the gods, what we're also talking about is folklore and our indigenous culture, whatever that might be. And those kind of energies that capture, if you like, the nature world. Again, we cannot cut ourselves off from them. And again, there's certain dangers if we do, you know, because we're kind of cutting ourselves off from our roots, our cultural roots, if you like, even our spiritual roots. And this is really important part of Buddhism, that we have a sense of being part of our kind of the folklore that we're living in, whether that be England, Ireland, India, Australia. It's going to be slightly different for different cultural contexts. So tonight we're going to be marking and celebrating the natural world, if you like, the spirit world that we live in within the puja. So what I was hoping and going to encourage you all to do is sort of bring some of nature, the outside world, inside. And, you know, we're all scattered around the region, even scattered around the country. So when we do the puja tonight, what I'm going to encourage us all to do is just have a sense of us all as a Sangha in the response, a sense that we're part of this collective choir, you know, imagining one another's voices. So it's not just your voice that you can hear, but the voice of the whole Sangha. And in the same token, I want you to perhaps imagine, you know, the trees, the sound of the trees, the sound of the rivers, having a sense of the clouds and the rocks also as part of the puja. Whatever sounds that they might make moving through the sky, the sound of the river through the dark night, having a sense that they're also part of our community, part of the choir, if you like, part of the puja itself. So let's bring the outside world inside. Ideally, it would have been lovely to have done this puja in nature itself, but actually our imagination is only what holds us back from bringing all the elements, bringing nature in to the rooms that we're in. So let's really sort of just have a sort of be playful, be experimental, imagining any connection that you might have with nature as part of tonight's ritual. So Bhante Sangha talks about being on friendly terms with the universe. And when we're on friendly terms with the universe, he talks about the universe will respond back friendly also. And I just feel like I really quite like to adopt that kind of attitude, particularly in the context of our times that we're living in. There's a lot of fears around, a lot of uncertainty. But I can't help feeling the more friendly we are towards the universe, we're only going to be met by more and more friendship and friendliness back. And that's certainly the attitude that I would quite like to adopt tonight in the puja, seeing the puja as an act or an offering, if you like, to the world. We don't quite know the impact it will have. It could be magical. We might not never know the impact it might have, but let's imagine that tonight's ritual and our connection with it, with one another as a Sangha, our connection with nature, just seeing where that might go out into the world and any kind of connections it might make. So I've said enough to hopefully set the scene. Take what you want, experiment in any way that you feel would help you to cultivate your engagement with the puja, to cultivate your imagination, your connection with nature, your connection with the Sangha, your connection with the universe. So I'm just going to take you through a few technical things, just so it's clear. So I will be doing the call and Kusala Devi will be doing the responses. So everybody will be muted apart from Kusala Devi and I. So I'll be doing the call and you will follow Kusala Devi with your responses. And Ian, who's doing our tech, will make sure that happens smoothly. We've also got a couple of readings. Just before the puja starts, Padma Sakhi is going to do the Ratana Sutta. And then she's also going to be doing another reading after entreaty and supplication. And it's a poem by a Swedish poet called Victor Rydberg, and it's called Tomten. And I thought it'd be helpful if I told you what a Tomten was, so you can enter into the spirit of the poem. And a Tomten is a solitary, mischievous domestic spirit. Just so you know that. So a Tomte or a Tomte, they're solitary, they're mischievous, and they're domestic spirits. And they're usually responsible for the protection and welfare of farmsteads and buildings. So just to set the scene with that poem that Padma Sakhi will be doing. Padma Sakhi will also be doing the mantras as well. So there'll be mantras, one mantra after the first section and then another mantra just before the closing mantras. And again, everyone will be muted apart from Padma Sakhi, so we can join in with confidence. Don't forget to mute me, Ian, if I forget. And of course, when we're doing the first mantra or even the second mantra, you can make offerings at those stages in front of your shrines. And of course, you can make offerings at any point during the puja. I think that's everything. Is there anything I've missed out in terms of the technicalities of the puja? Okay, I think there's just a few things. So at the end of the actual puja, we'll just sit for a little while. I don't know how long that will be, maybe just a few minutes. And then I'm going to read a final poem before I ring the bell, and then that will mark the actual end of the puja. And then Ian will potentially unmute us and we'll close the evening together.
the Ratana Sutta. Whatever beings are assembled here, whether of the earth or air, may you all be happy. Please listen now to what I say. Please send your metta day and night toward the human race, on whose behalf we make this offering. Please give us your protection. We are your friends. And all you fleshly beings and spirits gather round. Let us together salute the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. The Tathagata is honored by gods and men. May there be peace.
Sevenfold Puja. Worship. With Mandarava, Blue Lotus and Jasmine.
With Mandarava, Blue Lotus and Jasmine.
With all flowers pleasing and fragrant.
With all flowers pleasing and fragrant.
And with garlands skillfully woven.
And with garlands skillfully woven.
I pay honor to the princes of the sages.
I pay honor to the princes of the sages.
So worthy of veneration.
So worthy of veneration.
I envelop them in clouds of incense.
I envelop them in clouds of incense.
Sweet and penetrating.
Sweet and penetrating.
I make them offerings of food, hard and soft.
I make them offerings of food, hard and soft.
And pleasing kinds of liquids to drink.
And pleasing kinds of liquids to drink.
I offer them lamps encrusted with jewels.
I offer them lamps encrusted with jewels.
Festooned with golden lotus.
Festooned with golden lotus.
On the paving sprinkled with perfume.
On the paving sprinkled with perfume.
I scatter handfuls of beautiful flowers.
I scatter handfuls of beautiful flowers.
Om Muni Muni Maha Muni Shakya Muni Swaha. 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 Om Muni Maha Muni Shakya Muni Swaha.
Salutation. As many atoms as there are.
As many atoms as there are.
In the 1,000 million worlds.
In the 1,000 million worlds.
So many times I make reverent salutation.
So many times I make reverent salutation.
To all the Buddhas of the 3 eras.
To all the Buddhas of the 3 eras.
To the Siddharma.
To the Siddharma.
And to the excellent community.
And to the excellent community.
I pay homage to all the shrines.
I pay homage to all the shrines.
And places in which the Bodhisattvas have been.
And places in which the Bodhisattvas have been.
I make profound obeisance to the teachers.
I make profound obeisance to the teachers.
And those to whom respectful salutation is due.
And those to whom respectful salutation is due.
Going for refuge. This very day,
This very day,
I go for my refuge
I go for my refuge
to the powerful protectors,
to the powerful protectors,
whose purpose is to guard the universe,
whose purpose is to guard the universe,
the mighty conquerors who overcome suffering everywhere.
the mighty conquerors who overcome suffering everywhere.
Wholeheartedly also I take my refuge
Wholeheartedly also I take my refuge
in the Dharma they have ascertained,
in the Dharma they have ascertained,
which is the abode of security against the rounds of rebirth.
which is the abode of security against the rounds of rebirth.
Likewise in the hosts of bodhisattvas,
Likewise in the hosts of bodhisattvas,
I take my refuge.
I take my refuge.
Namo tassa
Namo tassa
bhagavato arahato
bhagavato arahato
samma sambuddhassa.
samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa
Namo tassa
bhagavato arahato
bhagavato arahato
samma sambuddhassa.
samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa
Namo tassa
bhagavato arahato
bhagavato arahato
samma sambuddhassa.
samma sambuddhassa.
Buddhang saranam gacchami.
Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dhammang saranam gacchami.
Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Sanghang saranam gacchami.
Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi buddhang saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammang saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi sanghang saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi buddhang saranam gacchami.
Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi dhammang saranam gacchami.
Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi sanghang saranam gacchami.
Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Panatipata
Panatipata
Varamani
Varamani
Dikapadam
Vikapadang
Samadhyami
Samadhyami
Adinadana
Adinadana
Varamani
Varamani
Dikapadam
Vikapadang
Samadhyami
Samadhyami
Amesu
Kamesu
Michachara
Mechachara
Varamani
Varamani
Dikapadam
Vikapadang
Samadhyami
Samadhyami
Musavada
Musavada
Varamani
Varamani
Dikapadam
Vikapadang
Samadhyami
Samadhyami
Sumameria
Gura Maria
Maja
Macha
Anatatana
Amadhatana
Varamani
Varamani
Dikapadam
Vikapadang
Samadhyami
Sammadhyami.
Sadhu,
Sadhu.
sadhu,
Sadhu.
sadhu,
Sadhu.
with deeds of loving kindness.
With deeds of loving kindness,
I purify my body.
I purify my body.
With open-handed generosity,
With open-handed generosity,
I purify my body.
I purify my body.
With stillness,
With stillness,
simplicity,
simplicity,
and contentment,
and contentment,
I purify my body.
I purify my body.
With truthful communication,
With truthful communication,
I purify my speech.
I purify my speech.
With mindfulness clear and radiant,
With mindfulness clear and radiant,
I purify my mind.
I purify my mind.
Confession of faults. The evil that I have heaped up
The evil that I have heaped up
through my ignorance and foolishness,
through my ignorance and foolishness,
evil in the world of everyday experience,
evil in the world of everyday experience,
as well as evil in understanding and intelligence,
as well as evil in understanding and intelligence.
all that I acknowledge to the protectors,
All that I acknowledge to the protectors,
standing before them,
standing before them,
with hands raised in reverence,
with hands raised in reverence,
and terrified of suffering.
and terrified of suffering.
I pay salutations again and again.
I pay salutations again and again.
May the leaders receive this kindly,
May the leaders receive this kindly,
just as it is with its many faults.
just as it is with its many faults.
What is not good, O protectors,
What is not good, O protectors,
I shall not do again.
I shall not do again.
Rejoicing in merit. I rejoice with delight
I rejoice with delight
in the good done by all beings,
in the good done by all beings,
through which they obtain rest,
through which they obtain rest,
with the end of suffering.
with the end of suffering.
May those who have suffered be happy.
May those who have suffered be happy.
I rejoice in the release of beings
I rejoice in the release of beings
from the sufferings of the rounds of existence.
from the sufferings of the rounds of existence.
I rejoice in the nature of the Bodhisattva
I rejoice in the nature of the Bodhisattva
and the Buddha,
and the Buddha,
who are protectors.
who are protectors.
I rejoice in the arising of the will to enlightenment
I rejoice in the arising of the will to enlightenment
and the teaching,
and the teaching,
those oceans that bring happiness to all beings
those oceans that bring happiness to all beings
and are the abode of welfare of all beings.
and are the abode of welfare of all beings.
Entreaty and supplication. Saluting them with folded hands,
saluting them with folded hands.
I entreat the Buddhas in all the quarters.
I entreat the Buddhas in all the quarters.
May they make shine the lamp of the Dharma.
May they make shine the lamp of the Dharma.
For those wandering in the suffering of delusion.
For those wandering in the suffering of delusion.
With hands folded in reverence.
With hands folded in reverence.
I implore the conqueror's desire to enter nirvana.
I implore the conquerors desiring to enter nirvana.
May they remain here for endless ages.
May they remain here for endless ages.
So that life in this world does not grow dark.
So that life in this world does not grow dark.
Deep in the grip of the midwinter cold, the stars glitter and sparkle. All are asleep on this lonely farm, deep in the winter night. The pale white moon is a wanderer. Snow gleams white on pine and fir. Snow gleams white on the roofs. Only Tomten is awake. Grey, he stands by the low barn door. Grey by the drifted snow. Gazing as many winters he's gazed, up at the moon's chill glow. Then at the forest, where fir and pine circle the farm in a dusky line, mulling relentlessly a riddle that has no key. Rubs his hands through his beard and hair, shakes his head and his cap. No, that question is much too deep. I cannot fathom that. Then, making his mind up in a hurry, he shrugs away the annoying worry, turns at his own command, turns to the task at hand, goes to the storehouse and tool shop doors, checking the locks of all, while the cows dream on in the cold moon's light. Summer dreams in each stall, and free of harness and whip and rein, even old Pale dreams again. The manger he's drowsing over brims with fragrant clover. The Tomte glances at sheep and lambs, cuddled in quiet rest. The chickens are next, where the rooster roosts, high above straw-filled nests, burrowed in straw, hearty and hale. Caro wakens and wags his tail, as if to say, old friend, partners we are to the end. At last, the Tomte tiptoes in to see how the housefolk fare. He knows full well the strong esteem they feel for his faithful care. He tiptoes into the children's beds, silently peers at their tousled heads. There's no mistaking his pleasure. These are his greatest treasure. Long generations has he watched, father to son, sleeping as babes. But where, he asks, from where have they come? Families came, families went, blossomed and aged, a lifetime spent. Then, where? That riddle again, unanswered in his brain. Slowly he turns to the barnyard loft, his fortress, his home and rest. High in the mow, in the fragrant hay, near to the swallow's nest. The nest is empty, But in the spring, when birds mid leaves and blossoms sing, and come with her tiny mate, then will she talk of the journey, tell twittering to all who hear it, but nary a hint for the question old that stirs in the tomte's spirit. Now through cracks in the hay-mow wall, the moon lights tomte and hay and all. Lights his beard through the chinks, the tomte ponders and thinks. Still is the forest and all the land, locked in this wintry year. Only the distant waterfall whispers and sighs in his ear. The tomte listens and half in dream thinks that he hears time's endless stream and wonders where is it bound, where is its source to be found. Deep in the grip of the midwinter cold, the stars glitter and sparkle. All are asleep on this lonely farm, late in this winter night. The pale white moon is a wanderer. Snow gleams white on pine and fir. Snow gleams white on the roofs. Only Tomten is awake.
The Heart Sutra. The Bodhisattva of compassion, when he meditated deeply, saw the emptiness of all five skandhas and sundered the bonds that caused him suffering. Here then, form is no other than emptiness, emptiness no other than form. Form is only emptiness, emptiness only form. Feeling, thought, and choice, consciousness itself, are the same as this. All things are by nature void. They are not born or destroyed, nor are they stained or pure, nor do they wax or wane. So, in emptiness, no form, no feeling, thought, or choice, nor is there consciousness, no eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, no colour, sound, smell, taste, touch, or what the mind takes hold of, not even act of sensing. No ignorance or end of it, nor all that comes of ignorance, no withering, no death, no end of them. Nor is there pain or cause of pain, or ceasing pain, or noble path to lead from pain. Not even wisdom to attain. Attainment too is emptiness. So know that the Bodhisattva, holding to nothing whatever, but dwelling in prajna wisdom, is freed of delusive hindrance, rid of the fear bred by it, and reaches clearest nirvana. All Buddhas of past and present, Buddhas of future time, using this prajna wisdom, come to full and perfect vision. Hear then the great Dharini, the radiant peerless mantra, the prajna paramita, whose words allay all pain. Hear and believe its truth. Gate, gate, paragate, parasangate, bodhisvaha. Gate, gate, paragate, parasangate, bodhisvaha. Gate, gate, paragate, parasangate, bodhisvaha. transference of merit and self-surrender. May the merit gained
May the merit gained
in my acting thus
in my acting thus
go to the alleviation of the suffering of all beings.
go to the alleviation of the suffering of all beings.
My personality throughout my existences,
My personality throughout my existences,
my possessions,
my possessions,
and my merit in all three ways,
and my merit in all three ways.
I give up without regard to myself,
I give up without regard to myself,
for the benefit of all beings.
for the benefit of all beings.
Just as the earth and other elements
Just as the earth and other elements
are serviceable in many ways
are serviceable in many ways
to the infinite number of beings
to the infinite number of beings
inhabiting limitless space,
inhabiting limitless space,
so may I become
so may I become
that which maintains all beings,
that which maintains all beings,
situated throughout space,
situated throughout space,
so long as all have not attained
so long as all have not attained
to peace.
to peace.
Om Ahum Vajra Guru Padma Siddhi Hum. 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 Om Ahum Vajra Guru Padma Siddhi Hum.
Om Mani Padme Hum.
Om Padme Hum.
Om Mani Padme Hum.
Om Mani Padme Hum.
Om Mani Padme Hum.
Om Mani Padme Hum.
Om Marapatranati.
Om Marapatranati.
Om Marapatranati.
Om Marapatranati.
Om Marapatranati.
Om Marapatranati.
Om Vajrapani Hum.
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 Om Tare Ture Svaha.
Om Tare Ture Swaha.
Om Tare Ture Svaha.
Om Tare Ture Swaha.
Om Tare Ture Svaha.
Om Tare Ture Swaha.
Om Mani Deva Hri.
Om Amideva 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 Hri.
Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Shakyamuni Svaha.
Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Shakyamuni Swaha.
Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Shakyamuni Svaha.
Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Shakyamuni Swaha.
Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Shakyamuni Svaha.
Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Shakyamuni Swaha.
Om Mahun Vajraguru Padma Siddhi Hum.
Om Mahum Vajraguru Padma Siddhi Hum.
Om Mahun Vajraguru Padma Siddhi Hum.
Om Mahum Vajraguru Padma Siddhi Hum.
Om Mahun Vajraguru Padma Siddhi Hum.
Om Mahum Vajraguru Padma Siddhi Hum.
Gate Gate Paragate Parasangate Bodhisvaha.
Gate Gate Paragate Parasangate Bodhiswaha.
Gate Gate Paragate Parasangate Bodhisvaha.
Gate Gate Paragate Parasangate Bodhiswaha.
Gate Gate Paragate Parasangate Bodhisvaha.
Gate Gate Paragate Parasangate Bodhiswaha.
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
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 Shanti.